a great pleasure in having with us Neeraj Bansal, an alumnus of IIM Lucknow and BIT Durg, who is the co-founder and CEO of CredRight Pvt Ltd, a digital lending fintech which is solving the credit needs of crores of unserved and underserved MSMEs in India. Previously, Neeraj has also worked with various corporates like Tech Mahindra and Sintel, which are leading tech services company. He has led and managed multiple departments like mergers and acquisitions, business development, and regional management in UK and Europe. Talking to Neeraj today is our founder and director, Prasad Tataverty.
So hi Neeraj, thanks for joining us on this program today.
Thanks, Tata. Pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me.
For our audience, it would be good if you could tell us the story behind CredRight and how the journey has been so far for you.
CredRight is a passionate project. India has roughly 6 crore small businesses, and 95% of them don't have access to banks or NBFCs for credit. Right. And I come from the same family. My family is all of proprietors, and I have seen them struggling whenever they wanted to raise capital to grow their business. So this is a very passionate project. We wanted to make sure that credit is more democratized. People, especially entrepreneurs or small proprietors who are running their shop very successfully, should be able to get credit, from institutions rather than depending on money lenders.
Right.
So the idea of CredRight was the same. The tadka in it is obviously the tech part. What we do is we have built a great algorithm, and we use a lot of alternate data to ensure that people who are not being served by the institutionalized sources are being able to being catered by us.
Fabulous. So coming back to 2020, this has been a real difficult year for most businesses, and a lot of people I see that they call it a new CTO, COVID-19, a new CTO, and most of the businesses have transformed their operating model. However, these sort of crises also gets us certain kind of opportunities. So how this pandemic has impacted your business, and how did you manage those challenges that you had?
Sure. So we are a lending business. Obviously, we were severely impacted for two reasons. One, there was a shutdown. Though we are digital, we still want to somehow meet customer once because our loan size are slightly bigger. They're generally 5 lakh rupees. So that was obviously a big impediment for us. But the bigger impediment for us was given the macroeconomic situation, do we even give new loans or fresh loans to people? Do they even have the ability to pay back, right? And third, obviously, if you have to run the operations, how do you bring all the team members together? How do you make them work? We all were in this habit of all coming to office together, working together, and that was completely jeopardized. How did we manage it? Thankfully, we were able to start work from home without any lag. Given that we are a tech company, it was pretty simple for us. Thankfully, the team came up. Obviously, there HR challenges, which you know better, Tata. But it's difficult to manage people when you're actually not together, right? Those were big challenges for us. But yeah, tech helped. We immediately started working from home. We started reaching out customers. Imagine our customer. Let's say you go to a very small place in Nellore. That guy is never used to interacting with you through a camera, right? But we started teaching the customer. We started encouraging them to do that so that they still have the access to money as and when they required. So we did that. So that really helped. And yeah, around human resources, I think our HR team was really handy. They took the mental, they made sure that people's morale don't go down. People who are working still adhere to a strict timeline. So we were all said it was actually mandated to us that nobody will call each other after 6:30 in the evening, which we used to do before the pandemic. But post-pandemic, we didn't do that to give people personal space. A lot of games, fun activities, which we all did. But thankfully, the tech, I think, helped all of us.
Fabulous to know all that. But I think the most difficult part was looking at yourself for longer hours, right? So I mean, I have not looked at myself so much as I did in the past.
No, absolutely. I think the "you are on mute" became the sentence of the year. If I'm not wrong.
Okay, so looking at, you are in fintech space, right? So what are the new trends that you see in fintech space specifically? The
So,
space that you are in.
I'll quote Mr. Nandan Nilegani here. I was listening to him 4 days back, and he said, remember the days when telecom firms were trying to expand, and they reached out every nook and corner of the country. The only problem was it was prepaid
Right.
because there was no trust,
Right.
right? So everybody had to pay the money front and then call.
Correct.
This is exactly what is happening now. It is changing to postpaid, right? Now with the India stack coming in place, with Aadhaar coming in place, with UPI coming in place, now we can trust each other. Now we know who the other person is, right? So the biggest changes which are happening in fintech is now that one, we can trust, and because we can trust, we can give the credit much faster and much easier to people. The two major trends because of that is one is BNPL, buy now, pay later. We all are witnessing. You go to Amazon, Flipkart, you check
Right.
out, you immediately get a EMI, right? At that to at zero interest rate to you because the merchant is actually bearing it for you. So BNPL has become big stuff. Even on the B2B side, the embedded finance has become a big stuff. What is embedded finance? It's again the same thing. You are basically checking out. So, for example, I'm a small retailer. I am buying stuff from a wholesale distributor through a platform, let's say called Udan, right? And when I'm buying, I have been given an option of credit immediately as I buy, and Udan has partnered with multiple NBFCs to enable that. And the cash flow is completely dependent upon how the retailers earn, right? So the cash flow also is slightly more secured. So BNPL and embedded finance has really become the way to democratize credit.
Definitely, yes. I think we have seen a lot of shift in terms of the consumer behavior, and a lot of shift in terms of what they consume as well, and how they consume. Right. I mean, uh, I believe that since pandemic, most of us have always been either shopping or buying or doing any sort of transaction, everything online, right? So it's more of a
So
trend
true.
towards. I think this has been a greater shift in terms of people going from offline to online now. The urban class, but I think that even if you go to villages, I think you would see, there are a lot of people who are transacting online now. So I think that's a beautiful shift to happen.
No, we believe we have leapfrogged by a decade, Tata, at least a decade. The pandemic, obviously it has caused a lot of harm, but the biggest benefit will be the digital journey. It
Correct.
has fast forwarded by 10 years, for sure.
Absolutely agree with you. Now, coming to, I mean, when you had thought of starting a business, I think it's all about ideas. And I was watching a program very recently where I was watching an interview of Kunal Shah of Cred, and he said a very beautiful thing when he was speaking about ideas. He said, "We have solutions, and we are trying to find a problem." So instead, so what's your thought about that?
So first of all, it's Kunal Shah, right? He can, he can say that I have a magical wand as well. The guy who raised $800 million valuation in 2 years is nothing short of magician with hardly any revenues to show.
Right.
No, so see, I don't know how much I agree with him or concur with him. In my limited view, I believe every venture exists to solve a problem, right? We have tried, and you have heard multiple stories of pivoting, right?
Correct.
Of different companies and becoming very successful. Reason being, in my belief, if you start with a solution and try and carve out a problem for that, you might try and straitjacket your solution towards that problem rather than being flexible. So I would rather believe in trying the best solution towards after finding a problem. But then again, whom am I to argue? Ideas are dime a dozen, as they say.
Now, sticking to this, I think, what we hear from most startups, and they're really fixated on scaling. We always hear about scaling and scaling fast and all those stuff. What's your idea about scaling versus growth?
Sure. No, so my views are two here. So one, I see scaling and growth together. I think the nuance there is: are you scaling or growing with a positive cash flow or at least a positive gross margin? versus a negative gross margin, right? I believe the days are gone when a lot of companies can sustain a lot of negative margin.
Right.
There are obviously hyper-funded companies. There will always remain, 1% of hyper-funded companies, but 99% of the companies should focus on growth, on scale, and that scale has to be hyper scale, but with a positive gross margin. And if you'll allow me 30 more seconds, I'll elaborate. The biggest challenge is, have you got your product market fit right or not, right? As CredRight, we have struggled. We have struggled for the first 2 years to find our product market fit. But as soon as we found out that now it works, now the product is being liked by the customer, and you usually get it because suddenly your sales is not that effortful; it becomes effortless, and you start seeing that customers are coming back, they're recommending your product to others, right? As soon as you see the product market fit, I think you should go blitzkrieg for scaling, right? I don't deny it, because you have to capture the market share, and India is a big market, right? And on that process, even if you have to invest, which gives you a burn, a negative cash flow, I believe it's okay as long as your product has a gross margin which is positive, which basically means that at least you're making money, on without the capex. And if you're doing that, I believe you should go and just capture the whole market if you can.
I agree with you. And how does 2021 22 look like for your organization? Any new initiatives that you're thinking of taking?
Sure. No, so we believe 2022 will be our year. Reason being, India is going to grow crazy next year. Obviously, one is lower base effect, but still, and this should continue for next 3-4 years. Reason being, all the reforms passed on by the government, and because of that, the credit demand will go through the roof. And especially our ability to distribute it with tech also helps. So 21-22, we believe, one, we already are seeing highest number of applications or dispersal already, even before pre-COVID for us. 21-22, we want to launch a couple of new products. We currently take alternate data, which is specifically on a sector called Rosca. A lot of small proprietors participate on that platform. So there we have found out a couple of more areas where we can help them, especially around managing their own cash flows well. So some kind of a small simple ERP solution, and second, some kind of a wealth solution which they are looking for. Those are the two new initiatives which we had. But on the credit side, we are very excited, very enthusiastic. We believe this is going to be our year.
So where are you spread? You're spread in all the states?
We are currently only focusing on the south of India. So our distribution is not a challenge, but given that we lend money, we have to collect it back. And there we do require a focused area and focused geographic area. So we're currently only in these southern states, which is Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra. We also have a very small presence in Maharashtra, but that's just baby steps which we are taking.
The plans of growing to other states as well?
To be honest, as of not now, because there is deep pockets which are still completely not covered by us within the geographic areas. We would love to grow much bigger in all the states.
So I think I still remember when you had actually planned to start this business, and you had inspired someone like me as well to get into this. So it's imperative I ask this question to you about your 3 learnings that you had in your startup journey so far.
Sure. So number one for me would be perseverance. I think it is still underrated. People talk about it, but it is still underrated. Your ability to hang on, your ability to even hang on with your nails on a wall if required to be, is the number one trait. If you can sustain it, you will get that wind or tailwind to help you sail through. Right. So that's number one. Number two, growth. If you're not growing, and you have to grow from an organization perspective, from a revenue perspective, as well as from an individual perspective. But startup is where you should grow 10 times in a month as compared to an organization, a large organization. If you're not doing that, then there's something wrong. And the third thing is setting up the culture right. People learn so much from the founders. People behave as the founders do. And if you start setting up the culture right from day one, a lot of things start falling in place. Otherwise, you'll spend a lot of bandwidth to manage that. So I think these 3 things I will highlight.
To know one particular superpower that Neeraj has, which helps him achieve whatever he is achieving today or whatever he is achieved till now? One.
I would say sell every day. I get up and I think, who am I going to sell today? What am I going to sell today? Whether and you have to be constantly selling, right? Whether you're selling to your customer, whether you're selling to your employee, whether you're selling to your partner, you have to sell. Because unfortunately, startup, you don't have that much capital, right, to attract the best talent. But if you don't, again, you won't grow, right? So you have to sell to your people. You have to sell to your so just sell. Always wear your salesman cap and be out. I think I try my best to sell every day and sell in a positive way, and I hope it works.
No, definitely yes. I think even if you have the best of the products that you developed, if you do not have selling skill, I think you wouldn't be able to achieve the results, right? So thank you, Neeraj, for taking your time to speak to us today, and it was fabulous. And we wish you a really really a great year to 2021 and 22 as well. And we hope we'll connect with you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tata, for having me. We both kind of left our jobs and then started really the same time. So really well to connect with you, and best of luck to you too
Thank you.
for the next year.